today's lesson is mostly combination of the different all the lesson of the unit that we've covered, all the activities or lessons we've covered under Unit 5. Okay, now in Unit 5 we did writing chemical equations, balancing chemical equations, and then types of chemical reactions. Now I know this was put in late. I decided not to publish it. This has to do with writing chemical equations from Word to formulas. It involves you doing it on paper and uploading, so I decided to forgo that. In place of that, you're going to do an assignment here that has to do with writing formula equations from word equations. Now on this writing chemical formulas, I made this optional in the sense that this goes over the naming and writing formulas, just in case you need to refresh your memory on how to write formulas from name. You can go through this, but you don't have to, and that's not going to be for a grade, but it will be very useful. Now today's main lesson is this: chemical equations and reactions. In chemical equations and reactions, you have word equation. Here I said I encourage you to work in full screen so that most of the things will be very visible. Okay, here you have the steps to writing chemical equations from word equation, just 3 steps. And I gave example here. The first example is aluminum metal react with solid iron 3 oxide to produce solid aluminum oxide and iron metal. So to do this, the first step is you translate the sentence equation to word equation. Just break it down to a very simplified form. And then step 2 is now using your periodic table as well as your ion chart to write the formulas or the symbols for the respective substances, metals or elements or compounds. In this case, aluminum, Al, and then the S, you have to indicate the state in which the substance is in. So aluminum metal, all metals are solid apart from mercury, which is liquid. So that's why I put the state as S. So aluminum is in a solid state plus solid iron 3 oxide, and that's the formula for the symbol for iron 3. It means the iron has a +3 and oxide is always a -2. So I encourage you to do this first. That is, if you don't have to do that step, you can go straight to this step right here. But if we're having problem writing the correct or complete formula, you can go through these 2 steps. First of all, write a symbol for each of the ions in the compound, and then use your crisscross method to balance the charges. So that's what we did here. So first, write the symbols with charges. Aluminum oxide is Al +3, O -2, and then you crisscross to give you iron 3 oxide and aluminum oxide. So that will be your final equation, and then you now balance the equation. So that is the last step. So by simply adding coefficient to the respective substance. Now that is an example of how I expect you to do the activity on writing chemical equation. So which is this. Now I use this one drag and drop. I thought it would be easier for you guys rather than asking you guys to type in So in this case, you simply drag and drop the formula or symbol for the elements or compounds. Now, I want to quickly point this out in the sense that the second space is for the state of matter, whether if it's solid, liquid, or gas. For example, when you say copper metal, so put a symbol for copper and then a symbol for the state. In this case, it's going to be solid. Just put it in the second space. Do the same thing for chlorine gas to give you solid copper 2 chloride. You drag and drop, and then you indicate the type of reaction. In this case, it's going to indicate if it's a double replacement. Remember, precipitation is also a double replacement. And then you also indicate single replacement with decomposition, and there's no acid and base right here, so you don't have to worry about that. So use all this to complete that activity. Now, in this in the next one, in this same file, I gave you a chart. You can use the chart in here, or you can pull it up yourself on the internet as a chart of some simple and full atomic ions. And also I gave you a chart on a periodic table with the ions, the charges, so that you can, if you want to do it the old school way, write it out first and then see which one to drag and drop in there. And then you have the periodic table in here, as well as the list of diatomic molecules, in the sense that when you're writing a diatomic molecule, you don't write it as a single atom, otherwise your equation will not be balanced. So you always write these diatomic molecules as a binary molecule. So that would be for writing chemical equations. And then we talked about single replacement before, so this simply goes over very brief information about single replacement. And also you have your activity series, so you're going to use this activity series to complete this based on what you've already know how to do before. And then the next one is predicting using the same activity series for metals as well as for non-metals. And then there's an addition here which we didn't cover before, for which you have to at least be aware, know how to do. That is reactivity of metals with acids. I'll give you an example here. When metals react with acid, the metal replaces or displaces the hydrogen, always displaces the hydrogen in the acid. So hydrogen is always one of the products, in addition to the salt or the metallic salt of the substance. So you just use that, just by 5 activities here. So you use that to complete that activity, and that's all that you have. Now let me quickly mention this also. Reaction of metals with water. When you react metals with water, just as we saw with metals with acid, metals with water always produces hydrogen in addition to the hydroxide of the metal. What that means is that here, for example, sodium reacts with water, so the hydroxide of this is sodium hydroxide, that is the metal plus the OH. So whenever a metal reacts with water, the base of that metal is produced. That means the metal plus OH is always the product in addition to hydrogen. So use that similar example to complete that. So that will be all we have to do on this lesson activity. Any question? little bit. No? Good. Kenny, no question? Jose, no question? All right. Before the end of class, I will take the last 5 minutes to um, just go over it again. If you have any questions, I could answer them. I don't know if this you can show solution. I don't know if you're able to show solutions. Please just make sure you do it first. Try it before looking at the solution. Okay.